Week 2. Last week, we began looking at all that our God's given us. Today is confident. I think it was abundance. And today is confident, and the next week is planned. Let's take a look here. True or false? A gift to Star of Bethlehem is a gift to God. True. That is true, yeah. 2, my church does ministry on my behalf. True. Do you know why I'm called the public minister of the gospel? Public ministry. Okay, let me ask this. Do you know why Mayor Alan Joines is a public minister of Winston Salem? Not just because he works for the public sector, it's because he works on our behalf. We elect him to do this. I was called by you, by God through you, to serve here. I serve on behalf of you. Could this church designate a different guy to do my job every Sunday? Yeah. Some churches do that. That's not wrong. But you guys called me to do full-time ministry on your behalf. I enjoy it. Thanks. Next. 3, Star of Bethlehem needs to handle God's gift carefully in the eyes of God and men. Absolutely. That's very true. Be good stewards. Last one, a church doesn't need a budget. That's false, yes. Yeah, false. All right, let's check this out. 1 Corinthians 8:19 and 9:12. I believe this is the one verse after our sermon text. But let's take a listen. Oop. Is there sound? Maybe I just missed it. What is more, he was chosen by the churches to accompany us as we carry the offering which we administer in order to honor the Lord himself and to show our eagerness to help. This service that you perform is not only supplying the needs of God's people, but also overflowing in many expressions of thanks to God. Number 1, even though the gift for the church in Jerusalem was for needy Christians, to whom was it given? Do you guys know about the offering to the Christians in 2 Corinthians? The backstory. There is a famine in Jerusalem. Paul's doing his mission work. Churches are established. Word gets around, people are starving in Jerusalem. Asia Minor, modern-day Turkey, and Macedonia, Greece, new Christian churches. They go, what? Who's starving? That's dumb. Let's have an offering. And then whomever, they didn't have Western Union. They didn't have, if you wanted to take a letter, take money, take anything to someplace, okay, who's going to Jerusalem? You had to raise your hand and then somebody goes to Jerusalem. So also, this is a great case study in how does the church do an offering, number 1. Number 2, how is it handled? And so here, to whom was it really given? To honor the Lord himself, this offering was given, and an overflowing in many expressions of thanks to our God, even though it went to feed hungry people in Jerusalem, where there was a famine. This is an offering to God. That's why we say, all of your gifts to our church, no matter what the ministry might be, and even beyond our church, is a gift to God.
What is more, he was chosen by the churches to accompany.
Okay, see? I pick on the sound desk and I messed up the slides. That's what I get. All right, this one hopefully will operate better.
In the same way, let your light shine before men, that they may see your good deeds and praise your Father in heaven.
Name one ministry. This is a risky slide. Name one ministry that Star of Bethlehem does on your behalf. I can name a lot. Catechism. That was the first one I was going to pick. I was going to put a picture of the catechism. Because it is unseen for the most part. Unless you have kids, you probably don't even know that we do it. Parents teach catechism, and I just kind of follow up with them. And of all the ministries that we do, I love that one because it is an awesome review for parents, kids, and I am convinced it is a superior way to do it. Having that spiritual conversation with those children is awesome. And it builds that relationship with the parent and the child, which is far more important. In our church body, how many of our confirmands do we keep from childhood to adulthood? Do you know? Tom, what were you going to say? It's quarter. It's between a quarter and a third. Yeah. And the one, if you want to take comfort, I mean, this is the comfort of being chased. If you're being chased by a wild animal, you have to be faster than the wild animal. Just faster than the guy next to you, right? Yeah. Our percentage is higher than other Christian denominations. Whoop-de-doo. That's not good enough. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you're better than your peers. Who cares? These are God's children. These are ours. We need to tell them and do a more faithful job of it as best we can. So I think this is a superior model. Well, anyway, yeah, that's one ministry, confirmation. Ed. We don't need to go through all the ministries right now. But we never mentioned that one, Tom. Yes. Yeah, Tom mentioned the Congregational Mission Offering, or the CMO, as it's known. Anytime you join a larger group, there's an alphabet soup of letters that magically appear. The CMO, the Congregational Mission Offering, is how our church body is funded. There are 1,200 churches in our church body, a couple 100,000 members, and we all pool our money together. I think it's a few $1 million. I don't remember. I think it's like $3 million a year. That all the churches together pool in, and then we fund a school, actually 3 schools, 4 schools? 4 schools, and that's how I came here. I was trained. Half of the education's paid for at MLC by our church body. I think even more at our seminary. The seminary is so well endowed, it gets kind of fuzzy where all the money comes from. But basically, you don't pay for your senior year because somebody's going to give you a grant. Because there's such a need, and there are people on their dying breath that said, "Can I give money to the seminary?" Yeah, sure. So that's awesome that people are generous. Tom. Adult instruction. Yeah, in fact, you never see that. Yeah, there were 5 that I'm working with. Now there's only 4. 1 just finished, which is great, and it ended well. But so it's a lot of fun. That is the most fun I get to have, and I almost want to bring some of you along sometime. That might be weird, but yeah, just to kind of see what it's like to sit down with someone who doesn't know Jesus. Because it's difficult for you to know it. Because so I just did the School of Outreach 2 Saturdays ago, and you talk about your friends, relatives, acquaintances, and neighbors. And you need to figure out in your life who they are so you can pray for them and introduce them. Most of the people in the Bible Belt are Christian. You probably know someone who isn't. But to get into a deep spiritual conversation about that, as going through a book with passages in front of you, so you can point by point go through what your God says and who he is amazing. It is so cool. And then from week to week, watch the Spirit work. And you guys, I don't have pictures. And it's really fun. So thank you for that one too. That's probably good enough, but one author of a Bible study said you need to do this and let your own people talk about the ministry you do. We do Camp Key Row. That's probably the most member-involved ministry that we do, just from a number standpoint. It's kind of a bigger camping one. Very labor-intensive. Trunk or treat's coming up. I'll keep going. Number 3.
For we are taking pains to do what is right, not only in the eyes of the Lord, but also in the eyes of men.
How does Star of Bethlehem do this with its offerings? You give your offering, you put it in the plate. The ushers walk it up to me, I put it on the altar. In symbolism for what it really is, offering to our God. Then what happens to it? Magically, Jan takes it. It is not magically deposited. Jeanette Waugh is our financial secretary. She is probably going to attack me afterwards because she does not want this. But yeah, she's very faithful and does an awesome job. Do you know who pays our bills? Penny Ruck does an extremely faithful job in getting me my check and paying all the other bills that goes into Star of Bethlehem. Yeah, I am. Do you know how long I've been in charge of money in our church? Do you guys know this? Never. 1 week, Tom. It was 1 week. Does anybody know this story? I was in charge of paying bills for the preschool for 1 week. Do you know why it was 1 week? Isn't it terrible, Mary? It was. That's good. That's an excellent point. Excellent point. For those online who didn't hear the peanut gallery, the question was asked by our pianist today, how long have I been in charge of paying money in our house? I think was it 1 week? Yeah, we've been married for 20 years as of May, and Jenna does an extremely good job making pennies multiply like rabbits, so it's good. All right, any questions about how the money is handled? I guess we're going to get to the budget standpoint in the next one. Does the church need a budget? First of all, who's that guy? Dave Ramsey. He is awesome. I don't use that word a lot. If you were a merchant and I go to the grocery store, just to be cordial, they're instructed by their boss to ask me how I'm doing. Do you know what my response is? 9 times out of 10, I'll say, I am awesome. Because I am. Do you know what God has done for me? Whew. It's amazing. By the way, you're awesome too. Well, anyway, Dave Ramsey also thinks you're awesome. And he has very, very regimented, step-by-step ways to get out of credit card debt that is crippling our nation. And you might be one of those people. If you have never heard of him or if you've never checked out his Financial Peace University, it is worth it. I have other colleagues, other pastors. It just works. And so if your possessions are owning you, don't just kind of go, oh, what? Just get a hold of it and make some very fundamental changes in how you operate with the gifts God gave you so that you can take control of it. That is essential if you want to operate under abundance, not scarcity. But why do you need a budget?
People who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge men into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Some people, eager for money, have wandered from the faith and pierced themselves with many griefs.
I kind of ignored the last question and went to this one. That's all about personal finance. Does our church need a budget? That was the last question I ignored completely. Yeah, yes. Finally, everybody needs a budget, no matter who you are. Jesus says, in counting the cost, we didn't quite get to that parable, you need a budget. If you're about to build a tower and you don't calculate it right and you build half a tower, what's going to happen? You get laughed at. If you're a king and you go to war against people, and you got half an army that they do, you're going to get slaughtered. You go sue for peace. Come on, this isn't that hard. Everybody needs a budget. You need to figure out what you have. And our church is no different. And as we budget what we think is important and how we're going to use the gifts God gave us. All of that is done. And once a year, usually November-ish, we will show you a budget for the next year of what it looks like. If anyone needs help with budgeting or financial peace, you do not need to raise your hand. But you can send me an email or respond to the one that I'm going to send out on Tuesday about this Bible study. And I'll have links to all of this. And I will happily point you in the right direction. Any other questions? I believe this is the last slide. If not, say this prayer with me. Lord Jesus, bless our church as we work to be good stewards of your gifts. Make your kingdom come through us as we boldly declare your gospel of forgiveness and freedom to all. No other announcements. One highlight I did not mention. There are some ladies from our church that attended a mission festival in Chesapeake, Virginia yesterday. If you are so interested, please talk to one of them. Mary, Linda, and Sonia and Jenna went. And they said it was really good. So please do talk to them if you have any questions. One of the missionaries from an Indonesia mission spoke. So no other announcements. Hopefully we'll see you Saturday and then Sunday dressed to work. May God give you all a blessed week.